When we look at the news, we often hear words that carry an immense weight. And perhaps no words are heavier than nuclear weapons. It's easy to turn away from a topic like this, to shield ourselves from its gravity. But I truly believe that real peace isn't born from ignorance. It's born from understanding. I am deeply, deeply grateful to welcome an expert to the show today. Dr. Elias Vance is a physicist with a deep background in international policy. Dr. Vance, thank you so much for agreeing to walk us through this.
It's an honor, Yugen. And I couldn't agree more with what you just said. You know, this knowledge, it should be used to build bridges, not walls. This is really a conversation about humanity, just as much as it is about physics.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start not with the science itself, but with the history. How did we as humanity even get to this point? Can you tell us about the dawn of the atomic age?
Of course. It really started in the late 1930s. Scientists in Europe, many of whom had actually fled fascist regimes, discovered that the atom could be split. They immediately realized the immense energy this could release, and they feared that Nazi Germany might develop a weapon from this discovery. This fear, it led to a letter signed by Einstein himself being sent to the U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt. And that is what set in motion the Manhattan Project, a top-secret American program with one single goal: build an atomic bomb before the Germans did.
So it was literally born out of a race fueled by the fear of what an enemy might do first.
Precisely. Thousands of the world's most brilliant scientists were gathered in total secret in places like Los Alamos, New Mexico. They worked tirelessly, and in July of 1945, they held the world's first nuclear test, codenamed Trinity. The lead scientist, J. Robert Oppenheimer, he famously recalled a line from Hindu scripture upon seeing that explosion. He said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." They understood in that moment that humanity had crossed a terrifying new threshold. And less than a month later, the world saw the devastating consequences when bombs were used on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, effectively ending World War II, but beginning a new, much more dangerous era for all of us, the nuclear age.
A profound and tragic beginning. Thank you for that context. It really sets the stage for the science itself. You mentioned splitting the atom. This is what we call fission. Could you explain that process in more detail for us?
Certainly. Fission, as we've said, is the act of splitting the nucleus of a large, heavy atom. Now, the elements most suitable for this are specific types or isotopes of uranium and plutonium. Think of uranium ore that you dig from the ground. It's mostly a stable type, uranium-238, but a tiny fraction of it, only about 0.7%, is the unstable isotope uranium-235. That's the one you need for a fission reaction.
So it sounds like a huge challenge is just separating that tiny, useful amount from all the rest.
Exactly. And that process, it's called enrichment. It's technologically very, very difficult and expensive, which is one of the reasons why building these weapons isn't easy. You have to increase the concentration of that uranium-235 to a very high level, what we call weapons grade. Once you have enough of this enriched material, a quantity known as critical mass, well, then you have the fuel for a bomb. The next goal is to trigger a chain reaction.
The mousetrap and ping pong ball analogy you gave before was incredibly clear. A single neutron starts a cascade. So what's the spark? How do you actually design the bomb to make that happen?
Well, there are two primary designs. The simpler one is the gun-type method, which was used on Hiroshima. It essentially fires one piece of subcritical uranium into another, like a bullet hitting a target. When they combine, they form a critical mass and the chain reaction begins. The more sophisticated and efficient design is the implosion type, which was used on Nagasaki. This involves a sphere of plutonium surrounded by conventional explosives. When those detonate, they create a perfectly symmetrical shockwave, crushing the plutonium core, increasing its density dramatically, and forcing it to go critical. That implosion requires incredible precision engineering.
Wow. The complexity, it's just astonishing. And this whole process, fission, that was just the first step in weapon development. Then you have fusion.
Yes. Fusion, that's the next great leap. As we said, it's the opposite. It's about forcing the nuclei of very light elements, like hydrogen, to fuse together. This is the very same process that powers our sun. In a weapon, this is called a thermonuclear or hydrogen bomb. The leap in power it's almost unimaginable. While a fission bomb's power is measured in thousands of tons of TNT or kilotons, a fusion bomb's power is measured in millions of tons of TNT, megatons.